tips when it comes back down to the writing for English B. We're looking at some tips and some strategies and the format and even the structure as to how it should be written in other in a chronological order. So first of all, let's look at crafting your essay. So paper 2 of the examiner's week examination requires you to write your answers in essay form. This means that the examiner expects a piece of writing that demonstrates a smooth flow and is written with an excellent level of grammar and well-developed paragraph. Questions on the paper will no longer be broken up into sections labeled A, B, C, but they will be guidance regarding what you are expected to include in your essay. Here's a simple new type of exam question. A dominant theme in T. Gene and his brothers is good versus evil. Write an essay in which you describe two incidents in which the conflict between good and evil is presented. In this essay, you must also discuss how the main characters are affected in one of the incidents and examine one technique that Walcott uses to present the theme of good versus evil in the play. Your essay needs to have three parts: an introduction, a body, usually of three or more paragraphs, and a conclusion. And this is the basic format of any structural essay in today's modern day literature and society. But there's a derivation when it comes back down to essay writing for English B, in the semantical sense that the structure can vary depending on how it's chronologically identified. But for now, we look at this text and we will do variations between that what two different essay types, styles, its characteristics, and how is it effective. The simple the simple essay structural format includes thesis statement. It includes a bit information about the writer of the story. Then you have your introductory paragraph in your but and it usually the optimal word limit is between 600 to 700 words. That's the optimal word limit. So in relation back to that, we have a thesis statement. We have given us a little bit of background into our character. We look at not only the introductory body, but we also look at the characters and how did the characters bring out certain themes as relates to real life. Everything in English B is relativity in back to comparison between reality and fiction, the linkage or the underlying message between fiction and reality. Okay, so when it comes back down to CSEC, this is some exam tips that we highlighted. Be guided by the mark allocation, da 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 da. Read your response to correct any obvious da 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 da, blah blah blah. So for so many exam questions to do this, and then it says here, you must identify or describe incidents in which a conflict between good and evil is presented. You must discuss how the main characters are affected in one way or how. So you need to look at the character. You need to look at how did this incident affected them, either in a good way, positive way, and how did that affect their way of thinking, their tactical mindset, and how does it relate back to real life. So when you're going to do it, you're looking at three main concepts. We're looking at the main idea. We're looking at the conflict. And we're looking at how that conflict affected that predominant character. So you must examine not only that, but you must examine one technique that utilizes and how did that technique contribute to the main idea. In the story, for example, Blood Brothers, or even in the story vary with oppression and suppression, we have the conflict of racism, prejudice, discriminatory acts. They did not want to employ him because of his color. They underpaid him because of his color. The theme in that is prejudice, racism. It's and the It had one instance in the story where it utilizes rugged rags. Rugged rags is symbolic of the treatment that they actually impose. So, strategically thinking and looking at it from a scientific, logical point of view, we could determine four things. The theme is oppression. The characters that contributed to this theme is Reinfield, which is the doctor at the hospital, and we have the nurses. They contributed to that overall theme. The utilization of rugged rags contributes to the underlying theme of racism and oppression. Connecting the dots using linking words further reinstates the relevance, importance, and conductivity of the story in its more morality of senses. So from that conclusively ideological idea, we could write an essay. We give a thesis. We speak about the author. We give a bit about background data as it relates back to that. Then we have our introductory paragraph. We look, we outline at least 3 points. 3 points, three major themes or two major themes depending on the conductivity. Usually these stories usually have either two major themes and a minor theme, or it could vary. But the utilization of two themes, we could either do it in this, the introduction, we have the two supporting bodies, and then we have the rebuttal, and after rebuttal, we have the conclusion. So with that in mind, that's the basic structure. So you may use the exam question to guide you to craft your introduction. Look again at the exam question and you will come up with something like this. So this is an example. In the play, T. Jean and his brothers, Walcott dramatizes the eternal conflict between good and evil. Several incidents are sparked by this conflict, and all of the main characters are swept in it. Walcott uses folktale, West Indian history, the supernatural setting, contrasting characters, symbolism to present this key theme. And then we have conclusion and something that should be avoided at all costs is avoid storytelling. Don't storytell. That is something that is very conclusive to you, will make you lose marks or senses. You will not tell a story. You need to look at it from an analytical perspective, not from a perspective that you're telling a story. So in relation back to that, that is everything in relation to structural writing of the essay as relates back to CSEC.